Hey everyone, today I'm going to review this 2013 Audi Allroad Quattro wagon, which unfortunately is one of the few wagons like this still available in the US, thanks to America's craze for SUVs. Since most SUV owners rarely venture off of a paved surface, a car like this makes a lot more sense to me. It has all-wheel drive, it has lots of storage space, yet it still drives more like a car. It handles well, it gets better gas mileage. So for the daily commute, this car is going to be much easier to get around with. It's easier to park, it's easier to get through traffic with, and overall it's going to cost you less. However, I know I'm in the minority. I enjoy driving cars, not sitting on top of them. Most of America wants the bigger SUVs, and unfortunately the auto manufacturers are following suit and building less and less cars like this. So this particular car is a fully optioned prestige package. It has about 74,000 miles on it and is in great shape. Today I'll go over some of the key features this particular car has, as well as all the specifications. I'll do an analysis of the model history of these cars. Then I'm going to dig into things like maintenance and repair costs, common issues that come up. I'll compare it to some competing models in the market segment. But first, let's get this thing out on the road and drive it. Okay, we're starting off our drive here in the Allroad on a boulevard, kind of a mix of some city and some suburb driving here to kind of get a feel for it, and then we'll get off on a back road, a nice twisty highway that I like, and we'll see how it handles and how it performs out there, and then finally we'll do some freeway driving to see, you know, how it would be on a long trip and in your daily commute. So first impressions, while I love the look of these seats, these are the sport seats that you would normally get in a sport package on prior Audis, but this comes with the Prestige. They look fantastic. They have a lot of lateral support with the bolsters here, but I have found it a little bit difficult to find a comfortable driving position. It's not bad, but I don't like a lot of lower lumbar support, and with the lumbar turned all the way down, it still is kind of forcing my back out a little bit too far, and so that's a little uncomfortable for me. Now, obviously, you know, your mileage may vary on that as far as what you like for lumbar support. I prefer less, especially in my lower back. But some others might enjoy this. But for me, so far, the driving position is okay, but not the most comfortable. I think that especially for long trips and if you're sitting in a commute for quite a while, the base seats in the Premium Plus package, for example, might be a better fit for that. The other thing too is while the lateral support is good and the bolstering is nice, it doesn't give you a lot of, you can't move around a lot. It kind of locks you in a little bit. However, we're going to be on a back road pretty soon, so we'll see how they do out there. I might change my mind. So the torque is pretty amazing. It's pretty instantaneous, and you know, that's what you come to expect with most of the Volkswagen and Audi motors. Wow, this is a pretty impressive power. This is a 3,891 pound car, yet it feels surprisingly strong for only 211 horsepower. So the engine in this car is the TSFI 2-liter turbocharged and direct injected double overhead cam 16 valve 4-cylinder. It makes 211 horsepower and 258 foot-pounds of torque. What's amazing about it is that it makes peak torque at 1500 RPM. So this engine pulls strong right from the beginning. The engine is part of the E888 family of engines that the Volkswagen Audi group makes, and it's a similar engine that you would find in the Mark 6 GTI and some Volkswagen Tiguan models. They call it the Gen 2. The difference is this one has Audi's valve lift technology, which is a variable valve lift technology for the exhaust cam. So that gives it a bump in power and a little bit broader torque range than what you would find in those other models. So here we are, we're heading out into the back country. This is one of my favorite roads. It is a lot of fun. However, it is quite bumpy in places. So it gives a good indication of suspension and chassis composure over the bumps through the turns. So far the ride is very compliant. I have the Audi Drive Select set on dynamic steering and dynamic engine response. So we'll see how that feels. So the steering is very direct. It's really communicative. I love the feel. It has just the right amount of weight, and it has a really sharp response on turn in. The suspension is handling the bumps quite well. You can see there's a lot of up and down motion with the car. This road definitely will challenge the composure of a suspension, and this is handling it well. It's definitely keeping all four tires in contact with the ground really well. And the grip is pretty astounding. This car has all-season tires, and it has the 18-inch wheels. There was an option for 19-inch wheels that had summer tires. Obviously, it's a used car, so you can pick and choose your tires accordingly. But for how I'm pushing the car right now, which is not I'm not asking everything from it, but it definitely has a high level of grip. The steering ratio is pretty quick. I don't have to move my hands at all from 9 and 3 on the steering wheel, and I can easily navigate this road even though the turns are quite sharp. Even though I'm not pushing it to the limit, I can definitely tell that there would be, at the limit, there would be a little bit of understeer. But the back of the car does seem to be kind of lively. It does seem like it will play a little bit. So far, I'm really impressed with how this car handles. It has super direct steering. Just the right amount of weight. There's a lot of grip available even on these all-season tires, but I'm impressed with how composed the chassis is and how it really hides its almost 3,900 pound weight. You know, looking out the windshield like this and on a road like this, you forget that I'm actually driving a station wagon. It's really an amazing drive back here on this road, and not many SUVs are going to provide you this experience. The engine pulls really strong. There's always an abundance of torque available at any RPM. You know, I've just been leaving it in automatic mode right now, letting the transmission find its own gear, and the 8-speed's working really well. If I switch it over into manual, I can use the paddle shifters here to kind of go up and down through the gears. But I think what I would end up doing is just kind of leaving it in fourth gear most of the time, because there's so much torque available that downshifts are just not really necessary. Man, I just love that I can set up wide for a corner and just start dialing steering input in, and it just carves down to the apex. Even when I think I've set up a little too wide, I can still just bring it down and get down to the inside of the corner with ease. So the transmission in this car is an 8-speed automatic, and it is a torque converter automatic, unlike the S-tronic transmission found in an Audi TT or the DSG used in the Volkswagen GTI and Golf R. However, it is a really nice transmission, and it works really well. It's very well suited to the engine. Shift response is really good. Like, most of the time I've been leaving it in drive on this back road, and it seems to find the right gear, and shifts feel good. So but I'm gonna actually move it over into manual mode now, and so that I can use the paddle shifters and kind of get an idea how it feels. So that's third gear. And the torque of this engine is amazing. And it actually does a blip throttle downshift, which is kind of nice. The shift response is pretty quick. Just about when you pull the paddle, it makes the shift, so it's pretty nice. The suspension on this car is actually out of the Audi A5. Now, yes, the Audi A5 is on the B8 platform as well. It has a wider stance, different control arms, different shocks and springs. So they used that on this car because of the wider stance it has with the fender flares to kind of give it that look. But the byproduct of it is the car handles really, really well. My impressions going into this car before driving it out here was that it was going to be a little floaty and not have an amazing amount of grip or feel when the road gets twisty. Kind of think Subaru Outback, like when you get on a back road. But this car has really, really impressed me. It has a really fantastic ride and handling trade-off. It definitely feels firm, like you would expect a German car to feel, but it soaks up the bumps on this road so well. And at the same time, you can load it up into a corner and it just never loses adhesion. The all-wheel drive system uses a 50-50 torque split, pretty standard Quattro setup. It's not the same as you would find in the B7 RS4, which sent more torque to the rear. And the brakes are really strong. It utilizes 12.6-inch front rotors and 11.8 rear rotors. Single piston calipers, but the stopping power is really strong. I'm not pushing super hard, but I haven't encountered any fade. So it looks like, all in all, you put everything together. The responsive engine with lots of torque, a transmission that works pretty well for an automatic, and strong brakes with some great chassis components. This is a car that is right at home on a road like this. And once again, it just kind of goes with my argument that when you have a car like this, why do you need an SUV? that road was a lot of fun in this car. I am definitely surprised. I did not expect to have as much fun as I did. This car works really, really well on a road like that. Wow, the motor pulls awesome. I mean, this car weighs almost 3,900 pounds, and that was easy to get up to 80 miles an hour and merge onto the freeway. 0 to 60 is about 6.4 seconds, and it does 15 seconds in the quarter mile at 92.4 miles an hour. Power to weight ratio is nothing extravagant, 18.8 pounds per horsepower. Those numbers would suggest this car would struggle to accelerate, but it definitely seems to punch above its weight class when it comes to power numbers. So the Allroad was all new for the A4 platform starting in 2013. It basically replaced the A4 Avant wagon. The A4 Avant had been around a long time, and it was a standard A4 but with a wagon body, but it had the normal suspension and normal bodywork. The Allroad uses a version of the A5 suspension to give it a wider track so that they can put the fender flares on this car and give it kind of a beefier look, and it also allowed them to raise the car up a little bit. So it actually has 7.1 inches of ground clearance. Prior Allroad models were actually based on the A6. The first one came in on the C5 platform of the A6, which started in 2001 and went to 2005. That was available with either a 2.7 twin-turbo V6 or with a 4.2 liter V8. That particular car actually had an air suspension where you could actually change the ride height, and the car was actually quite capable off-road. In fact, it reportedly is the only car that has ever navigated the Range Rover off-road course. After that, there was an Allroad built on the C6 A6 platform. However, it was never imported to the United States. The B8, or actually B8.5 as they call it, because this is considered the facelift year of 2013, went from 2013 to 2016. And then in 2017, it was replaced with the B9 chassis Allroad, which used a 258 horsepower version of the E888 engine called the Gen 3. As with most German car products, they have the potential to have higher maintenance costs and higher repair costs than you would get with other manufacturers. However, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're any more unreliable than some other cars. In my opinion, what I traditionally say is that they just don't stand up to abuse the same way you can get away with maybe with a Honda or a Toyota. They do need to be maintained properly. If you stick to what Audi says to do and when to do it, overall, I believe these cars will last many, many years and hundreds of thousands of miles. Some of the common problems that I have looked into with this particular car are steering rack issues. There also are some reports of timing chain guide and tensioner problems. Carbon buildup is a common issue with direct injected gasoline engines like this, so you may have to do a cleaning once in a while with that. And there's also some reports of torn CV boots, but that's about what I've seen. And obviously, you know, your results may vary, but overall, not much more than I see in other cars in this price range and this style of car. As far as what cars compare to this, well, obviously you could say SUVs. They offer similar storage capacity. They offer similar all-wheel drive capability. However, they sit up higher, which is important to a lot of people. But as far as car-based wagons go, unfortunately, there's not many left. I would say the most direct comparison that this car would be a Subaru Outback. Also, Volvo makes its cross-country wagon. That's probably the most direct comparison. And then you've got some other car-based SUVs that are pretty close, whether it's a Land Rover Evoque and even Audi's Q5. But again, those are not going to give you the same driving experience that this car is going to give you. The aftermarket community in these cars is very strong, like most Volkswagen and Audi products. If you're looking for a car that has a lot of space, is all-wheel drive, and has a very flexible turbocharged engine that's easy to tune, this is at the top of the list. There's common upgrades out there like reflashes of the computer and bolt-on upgrades. A quick search on the internet shows that a stage 1 tune on 93 octane with no other supporting modifications bumps power up to 284 horsepower and 338 foot-pounds of torque. If you go stage 2 with a downpipe and exhaust on 93 octane, it goes up to 302 horsepower and 343 foot-pounds of torque. Those are really healthy numbers, especially for only a 2-liter 4-cylinder. Add in all-wheel drive and the interior space that a wagon gives you, and it's a pretty compelling package.
Okay, now it's time for my overall used car score. First off, the fun category. For powertrain, the engine is actually pretty impressive. And in fact, it feels much stronger than the numbers suggest. Plus, it's very tunable. The only available transmission is an 8-speed torque converter automatic, which isn't as ideal as a good DCT or especially a manual, but it actually works very well in both auto and manual modes. So I give it a 7 out of 10 for powertrain. For acceleration, again, this car is quite strong. It posts acceleration numbers that defy its near 2-ton weight. But it's certainly not supercar levels of thrust, so I give it a 7 out of 10 for acceleration. The handling of this car was the biggest surprise to me. Great turn-in response, lots of grip, and actually a pretty playful chassis. Plus, it has a fantastic ride and handling trade-off. So I give it a 7 out of 10 for handling. For styling, this is likely a love it or hate it car for most people. I personally love the styling of most sporty wagons, and this is near the top in my opinion. However, your opinion may differ. So I give it a 7 out of 10 for styling. Weekend. This just might be one of the best do-it-all cars available. Not only will it haul all of your weekend gear with ease, you will have a great time driving to your destination. So I give it a 7 out of 10 for a weekend score. That makes a total of 35 out of 50 for the fun score. Next is the practical category. Comfort. Like most mid-sized German luxury cars, the ride and comfort are among the best. However, it has typical German car firmness, the sport seats weren't very comfortable for me, and the pedal placement was tight and awkward. So I give it a 6 out of 10 for a comfort score. Utility is very good, with up to 50.5 cubic feet of cargo space with the seats folded. However, that is not as much as other wagons, such as a Golf Sport Wagon, and is definitely less than most mid-size SUVs. So I give it a 6 out of 10 for utility. Economy. The fuel mileage was the biggest disappointment with this car, in my opinion. The EPA ratings are 20 in the city and 27 on the highway, but in my mostly spirited drive, it only returned 18.9 miles per gallon. So I give it a 5 out of 10 in the economy category. Quality. Like most German cars, quality and reliability can be a question mark. There does seem to be some common issues with these cars you may not see in others, and maintenance and repair costs will likely be higher. But in my professional opinion, most of the four-cylinder Audis are pretty robust. So I give it a 6 out of 10 for quality. Pricing. This car costs nearly $50,000 new. So with a current fair market value of just under $20,000, you can see that it has lost around half of its value in 6 years. In my professional experience, values will continue to drop, however, especially as the car goes beyond 100,000 miles. There are a lot of nice used cars in the $15,000 to $20,000 price range, and many of those are a lot newer than this car. So this is a car I would want to buy well below market value if possible. I give it a 5 out of 10 for pricing. That makes a total practical score of 28 out of 50, bringing the grand total to 63 out of 100.
So that concludes my review of the 2013 Audi Allroad Quattro. And it's been a great car. I've enjoyed this a lot, and I highly recommend it if you're looking for something that is a little less SUV-like and a little more car-like, but still has storage space. Please like this video and click to subscribe if you haven't already, and thanks for watching.